You know, a legend in the game, and for him to be in our conference and be able to compete against him, not only as a player, as a coach, has been a huge honor for me in my football career. And you know, he was always great to me as a player. Wrote me a letter that really meant a lot to me after my sophomore year. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for the way he does things, the amount of success he's had, and just the man he is. So he's been a great part of college football for a long time, and we're very lucky to have him here in our conference.
Do you still have the letter he wrote to you?
Maybe at home somewhere.
Do you remember what he said?
Just really positive, and it was we had lost up there, and we'd gotten beaten up pretty good. And he was I just remember being very positive, and you kind of trying to find your way first year in Coach Leach's offense, and it just meant a lot to me.
If you could write a letter, who would you write it to? Anyone in the world, and what would you say?
Oh my God. I'll get back to you on that one. All right.
Broderick Washington talked on Sunday about the last time that you guys were at Kansas State, and he said he just loved the energy of the crowd, and he felt like he fed off that really well. What do you tell your team about just capitalizing on the type of energy that they're going to see there this week?
Yeah, it's going to be senior day. They're coming off a big win. It is a tremendous college football atmosphere. They have the synchronized chants, and you know, the fans do their research on your girlfriends and your high school mascots and everything else. So it's they do it right there, and it'll be great energy in that stadium.
Cliff, and this is kind of following up on what Bailey was asking you about the letter writing and whatnot. You've kind of gotten some positive attention, not for writing letters, but just for commending players on opposing teams after games. Can you kind of detail a little bit just why you want to do that?
Yeah, I just think sometimes when you're in it, you're a little bit close to the fire as a player to really know how people view you from the outside. And so anytime you get a chance to see those young men, it always meant a lot to me when opposing coaches would recognize what I was doing or thought that I played hard or did certain things well. And so if I see players that I appreciate the way they play and the type of talent they are, I just do my best to try and let them know that.
I wasn't on the conference call yesterday, but I believe, did you say you don't expect Allen to play this week?
I don't. Not this week. So we'll still in the healing process. We're going to be overly cautious, just as we were before, and see where it goes.
Is it possible he could play? He could be back against Baylor?
It's possible. So we'll see.
And I've asked you this before, but with the air travel being a consideration, would Allen even go to Kansas, or have y'all ruled that out?
We haven't gotten that far yet. We're going to kind of wait and get him checked out this week and see where we're at.
What about Dakota? I don't know if you answered this yesterday. What's his status?
Yeah, it's still day to day. We thought he could go last week and he wasn't able to, and so it's going to be late in the week how he feels. We don't want to put him out there unless he's 100%. Want to be smart and do right by him, and so it'll be a Thursday, Friday type decision.
What's Tazon's status?
We'll see. He's dealing with a toe issue. He's not able to really push off and have his explosiveness that he's had, and so really has 2 turf toes, and we're trying to manage that.
The 2015 team kind of had a similar situation, kind of a crossroads, 5-5, and then finished out with 2 big wins against Kansas State and then Texas. And it seemed like talking to some of those players who were there, they said they really rallied. They recognized where they were at in the crossroads and rallied, and that was the difference. With all that being said, what's the team morale right now?
Yeah, I think really good. I think they understand, 3 tough losses, but they understand we're more competitive than we've ever been here. And we still have a long ways to go in finishing and doing things right to make the plays necessary to actually win those big games. But I think morale is really high, and they know what we can be when we play well.
Coach, you talked about Manhattan a little bit earlier on game day. What specifically makes it tough to win there for this team for this season and just in years past? Is it just the passion they have there, or what's really makes it so tough to win there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great home field advantage for them. They show up, they're loud. The players feed off of it when they're at home there, and then you're dealing with Coach Snyder, who's a legend and makes great coaching decisions and has a tremendous staff, and so it's a number of things.
Having said that, this year you guys have obviously won in Stillwater for the first time in a while. You won at TCU. How is this team built? We've heard the road warrior mentality some of the players talk about. What do you think this team, is there something different about them on the road or the way they come together? Just what about them makes them so successful on the road?
I think it's just a close-knit group. So when they're on the road and it's kind of us against everybody mentality, they thrive off that, and they played it really well and come out with great intensity, at all the opposing stadiums we've been in, and hopefully that continues.
What makes Barnes such an explosive back?
Yeah, he's very patient. I think he doesn't miss a hole when it's there. He's got great vision, and then when he gets out in the open, he can take it on anybody. And so he's just a very skilled player who has great vision, and he's a complete back.
Antwon Wesley, we ask you about him every week. I feel like he's a finalist or semifinalist for the Bolitnikoff, and he's a guy who last year had NFL receivers ahead of him, and now he just had the opportunity this year to take advantage and crush it. Do you think he sets a good example for other guys who just have someone above them that can really, take that opportunity?
Yeah, no question. He's a guy who I think we only played him one game his freshman year and burned his red shirt, which is unfortunate. And last year had him out of position, moved him around inside, outside. He just kept working. He never complained, never pouted, just kept working. This spring, had a good spring, got injured. Instead of getting down and pouting, just kept working, and just come back and had a monster year. So he's a great example for those guys about determination and perseverance.
Coach, how would you say Duffy's progressed mentally?
Yeah, I think, like I said after the game, I thought the reads and a lot of the progressions took a step forward. The ball security was not good, and that's going to get you beat in this league. 3 turnovers inside the red zone just can't happen against anybody, and so I like where he's heading, but we have to protect the ball better.
Right. Going off Wesley and kind of touching that whole receiving core, it seems like on some of these keys and screens that, they send to the outside, how much of those blocking aspect do they work on? Because it seems like these huge blocks, give way to these awesome runs for these guys.
Yeah, they take a lot of pride in that. That's one thing about this offense that I've noticed is they're pretty selfless. They don't care who gets the credit or gets the ball. They're playing hard for each other, and that gives you a chance. So I've commended them this year on their effort playing without the football.
Do you think it passes the eye test, but do you think the defense has improved this season from last season?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm big on where we're at right now, and last week wasn't good enough, and so that's where we're at right now, and that's the reality of it. Last week we weren't good enough as a defense at all, and we've got to get better, and you have this week to try and take that next step. But I thought we had our moments, but last week was not where we need to be.
Where do you think the defense needs to improve the most this week?
Yeah, I think just assignment, making sure there's no easy yards, and the other part of it is discipline, which is all me. Those cheap penalties we keep getting, whether it's personal fouls or late hits, you can't do that in our league.
Well, what can you do as a coach? Because that seems like that's kind of a recurring deal. What can you do as a coach to make sure, on 3rd and 33, a guy doesn't get a penalty on the other side of the field?
I wish I could find them, but we can't do that. So, playing time is something that you have to threaten them with, and we've got to be better. As a staff, we got to be better at playing with more discipline and not hurting our team.
Cliff, following up on Jared asking about Dazon earlier, when was it that he got hurt anyway?
It had been lingering for a couple weeks, and it just got to the point where he hasn't been able to push off to the extent he's a quick jitterbug type player and hasn't been able to push off to the extent he needs to be himself out there.
The first part of the year, first half of the year, we asked y'all a lot about the success that y'all were having in the second half and kind of winning games in the fourth quarter, which was a recurring theme. And the last 3 games, obviously, during the streak, y'all have given up some points in the fourth quarter. And clearly the level of competition has been a big factor in that. Is that the biggest factor, or what other reasons do you see why you have?
Yeah, obviously those are really good football teams, but I think just we've had our opportunities, whether it be lack of composure or poise late, or just not having done it against the upper echelon teams. I think we've got to get over that hump mentally, and we haven't been able to do that.
A couple of the guys said that it's not physical because our conditioning's fine and we still feel good in the fourth quarter. Preston actually even mentioned maintaining your focus because he said, it's 3 hours, and really in a lot of cases it's close to 4 hours. That seems like a bigger issue than ever, just staying mentally there.
Yeah,
as sharp as you are from the first
doubt, especially, and in those games, that's what it's going to be. It's going to come down to one player here or there in the fourth quarter, and it has 3 consecutive weeks. And the other teams found ways to make those, and we haven't. And so we've got to find a way to stay locked in, know going in that it's going to be a 4-hour game, and you got to keep your focus to the end.
Any solutions to get the running game going beyond Jet's contribution?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, we had a good plan last week, got behind there 27-10 and kind of had to scrap it, but I thought we were doing some decent things. A lot of it was Jet. We felt like we could get an extra hat on people and let him make some yards, which he did, but then the game went kind of sideways. We started throwing it, and so I don't think that was indicative of really a lack of running game like it had been against Iowa State.
How much progression have you seen from Keshawn Carter this season?
Yeah, he's going to be a really good player around here. Seth has emerged more of a veteran presence, a little bit more physical in some things, but Keyshawn's one of the fastest players in the country, has kind of figured some things out this year, and he's going to be a tremendous player.
Talking about Antwon making that jump when he actually had the chance to get more playing time, do you see that kind of potential from these other receivers that you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about how much they want it, how hard they're willing to work. That's one thing Antwon does, is he focuses and he works and he prepares to be the best. And if those guys take that same approach, they'll have a good opportunity.
Coach, Kansas State's been doing the strong quarterback run game for a while now, kind of like how Ellinger was last week. Is there a similar approach to trying to stop their quarterback run game as it was for Texas?
Yeah, I don't know if it's similar. I mean, everybody has their little wrinkles and ways of doing things, but they've been really good at it for a lot of years, and then their pass game comes off of it. So we got to be prepared for both those things.
I guess you could say, I just feel like I did my part for the team. I definitely feel like I worked hard enough for it. So definitely want to see what I can do with it more.
Do you see potential for that type of recognition for these other younger receivers maybe in a couple years?
Oh, yes, sir, definitely. I can even see TJ winning it next year, push him through it, and, make him want to be the best he can on the field and off the field.
Antwon, that first year where you only played one game or kind of played a snap with Texas Tech, I guess, did you kind of foresee something like this, or how long did it take you to kind of feel like you had a season like this in you?
Really, me just I trust the process. I knew my time was gonna come, but you never know when it is. But thankfully it was this year. I just took it and ran with it.
Kind of the biggest thing that you felt that you kind of improved on your game, was it weight training? Was it just kind of working through tackles, or I guess what's the biggest thing that's helped you?
Really just at the top of my routes when I'm running them, making sure I put something different to it. As I run my route, I try to, do dance moves at the top of it. So, yeah.
Just overall, can you speak to what Jadion's kind of meant to you and how he's kind of helped you throughout that process?
Oh, yeah. Jay has, he's definitely like my older brother. I go over to his house all the time, and he's over at my house all the time. So, we talk to each other a lot, and my freshman year he helped me out a lot, because he thought I was going to play, but ended up redshirting until the end of the season. But I'm definitely happy for him to be in my life. He definitely has a big part of it.
Where'd the nickname Tweezy come from?
It's back when I was a kid. It's like a child, play, kind of kid name. But I guess, you can say from, Chris Brown. His was Sea Breezy, and I used to dance a lot, and I got my dance move from him, so got it from him.
Better dancer, you or Chris Brown?
I think he got me. He got the singing too. So, if he was to go at it, I think he would start singing. But, I think I'd get him a little run for it.
I was talking to Vasher a couple weeks ago. He said you're easily the best dancer on the team. He was talking about you do one move where you, roll your body, and he told me to ask you to do it. Do you feel comfortable doing it?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Let's see it.
Probably just talking about this one. That one, he's probably talking about that one, but yeah, that's when when I first got here, that's the one he always wanted to see. So
he really likes that one.
Yeah, he loves that one.
Final question, Coach Schneider, known for writing letters to players of the teams he plays. If you could write a letter to anyone in the world, who would it be and what would you say?
Probably, I'd have to go Chris Brown. I just want to see him on the dance floor, But he's a cool guy, him, Drake and OBJ, they're definitely cool guys to be around. I like that swagger. So hopefully I get to meet him one day.
Should we expect some blonde tips coming soon?
Oh, no. No, that's definitely all OBJ. Yeah, he got it.
Can you just speak to the influence that Coach Jones has had on you and since you've been here for the last 3 years and just what he means to you as a coach?
Yeah, no, Coach Jones definitely, like I said, he's been a part of my life too, as you know, Coach Kingsbury. But you know, Coach Jones is like our position, meaning our position coach. So you know, we see him more, and you know, he's always been hard on me, but you know, I know it's always for the good, and you know, I thank him for that. You know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
Coach Kingsbury was just talking about how you're a guy who kind of comes to work every single day, and you're really intentional about everything that you do, and you work really hard all the time and kind of just keep your head down, but you also like to have a lot of fun. How important is it to have and establish that balance?
Really, you know, I just think about the seniors, the ones that's been here before us, you know, and you know, I just want to do as much as I can for them to make sure that, you know, we can get a bowl game and extend their season and just do what I can do for my team, you know.
Antwon, going into this season, you had 137 yards for your career, and now you have 1,347. Why do you feel like you've been able to make that big a jump in such a short time?
Really, you know, just like I said, trusting the process. You know, I used to talk to Kiki QT all the time, and you know, he said my time was going to come, and I just had to be patient. So, and I just shot at it. So I'm happy. You know, I'm thankful for, you know, God's giving me blessings, and it's awesome.
Is it also a confidence thing where once you have a couple of big games, you feel like that you can do this on a week in, week out basis?
Well, you know, football is played like totally different. You never know what's going to happen. So, you know, I never underestimate my team, my competitors. You know, I always go into it like, okay, he's really, really good. You know, and I just have to play on my toes as always and never be on my heels.
And assuming you don't get hurt in the next couple of weeks and just have a regular game, you're going to finish highest single season total outside of anyone besides Michael Crabtree that's ever played here, and you actually have an outside shot to catch him. What would that mean to you?
I mean, it would mean a lot if I could, you know, just being close to Crabtree. You know, he's one of the legends that's been in college football. You know, I've definitely looked up to him. He had like 1,900 yards in one season, like 22 touchdowns. Like, that is like you know, a season that you would want to have, you know, and I strive for that. You know, he's the best, and I hope I get to pass him, you know, because records are meant to be broken. But you know, whatever God gives me, you know, because if he says, you know, slow down, you know, I'll slow down for him.
So, and kind of following up on that, probably a lot of Tech fans might want you to slow down in terms of this next question. But I was asking Cliff the other night. Is Antwon, with the year that you've had, is he at the point where he could be potentially an early entry for the NFL draft after this season? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, right now I'm really just focused on Kansas State right now. You know, I talked to Coach King about that after the season, but we'll see.
You mentioned wanting to get to a bowl game for the seniors, for them to go out on a high note. Is that something you and some of your teammates have talked about, have voiced, or no?
Since day one of fall camp, spring camp, you know, we've always wanted to always have that extra game because, you know, you feel like you just don't do as much if you just have a regular season.
Is that something you've talked about, though, since the Texas game, like this week or the last couple of days? Have you all talked about, you know, getting back on the right track and, you know, finishing the season strong, or is that even discussed like that?
Really, just it starts in practice. You know, after the Texas game, you know, we definitely were like, you know, we got to get back on our road because we know we can be who we want to be, you know, when we're on the road. So, I mean, I feel like we're going to be okay.
Specifically, what are you guys working on this week getting ready for Kansas State?
We know that they are very disciplined. You know, they run a lot of cover 4. You know, they've never really changed. But, you know, make sure we're doing the little things right. You know, we don't want to hurt ourselves by all the penalties and all that stuff. So we don't want to push ourselves back. You want to keep moving forward.
You mentioned the penalties and holding yourself back. How do you guys work on that in practice? It's, you know, Coach Kingsbury a minute ago said that you can't fine them because you guys are student athletes. That's not an aspect for it. But how do you internally penalize to fix that problem?
Really, I think it's just, you know, like how we did today out in the cold. You know, we had a couple mess-ups, but I feel like, you know, we got to come together as one and just focus up more.
Antwon, what areas do you think you yourself can exploit the Kansas State defense?
Really just containing my guy, keeping him blocked, making sure he's not making the tackle and, making the plays that they give me.
Does your role change from just what Coach Kingsbury wants you to do? Does that change from game to game, or is your role kind of similar with each opponent, or does it change with each team you play?
No, not much, because I trust everybody else that's, on the other side, like TJ Vasher. Like, you'll never see us, like, switching sides unless it's, like, a now call or something. But nothing. They trust everybody else like they trust me, and I trust my teammates as much as he does.
You guys have done pretty well on the road this year, winning at OSU and TCU and different places. What do you like? Do you like going on the road? Is that something you like facing as a competitor?
Yes, I love going into somebody's houses and beating them there. It's definitely a good feeling. I don't like when people come to my house and beat me here. It's definitely not cool, but we have to work on that too. But I like going to other people's houses and telling them like, hey, we can do this on the road too.
Would you rather pump up your own crowd, or is it better to silence someone else's?
I love silencing everybody else's. I sometimes catch myself silencing my crowd sometimes. I don't know why I do that, but I'm not doing it for, just because. It's just something that happens, I guess.
They have a solid run game. He's one of the better backs in the league, in my opinion. So we definitely have to come prepared this game.
How do you think you guys did against the run this past week compared to Oklahoma a couple weeks ago? And how do you think you guys did against Texas against the run compared to what you did against Oklahoma? Excuse me, and what you guys need to improve on going into this week?
I thought we improved from Oklahoma. We just got to take it 1 week at a time and just get better, because I think Kansas State has the second best O-line. Oklahoma's first, so we have to come prepared.
Jordan, I guess for you, obviously it's tough to not have Dakota in the lineup, but I guess what have you and Rico done to be able to kind of step up for him in his absence?
It's just next man up mentality. Rico knows that, and I think he's been prepared the whole season, rotating in and out with us, and so it was nothing new. So I don't think we lost anything there.
You mentioned K-State's offensive line. What about that group makes them a challenge for y'all?
Their experience, they're big, they're strong. They got all five. They came back from a year ago, so they know what they're doing and they're disciplined. So we have to be prepared.
And for you individually, how do you feel like you've progressed this year from last year and even the year before?
I just think my, mentally, just knowing my awareness, knowing what play is coming, just little things like that, and that just comes from experience and, and coaching.
Jordan, do you ever catch yourself, whenever you guys are on the road, do you ever feed off the energy of opponents? Are you ever talking to them or anything like that whenever you're on the road?
You said opponent?
Yeah, whenever you're away, do you ever talk to the fans or get energy from them, trash talking you, or they're rooting for the other team, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Fans on any road game, they're gonna talk, and it gets to you. But the only thing you want to do is shut them up, and the only way you can shut them up is by, going out there and playing hard and getting a W.
Why do you think the team has been better on the road than at home? At least the results.
I'm not sure. I don't know. It could be distractions. I don't know. That's one thing we haven't figured out yet.
For a portion of this season, especially early on, it was fourth quarter dominance for you guys, shutting out opponents completely in the second half. That has changed significantly in the last few weeks. What do you attribute that to? Is it injuries? Is it fatigue? Is it opponents? Is there something specific that is causing a letdown in that second half?
I don't know. That's not my job. That's probably a question you got to ask the coach. I don't know.
And you guys have also had some opportunities this year that were where you guys made a play, but then also had a penalty on it that extended that drive. How do you guys internally correct that problem, either in practice, out of practice, that aspect of it that you can't necessarily do always in the game?
We just got to control our emotions. We got a lot of emotional guys on the team, and they take this game very serious. But we just got to know when we're on the field, we got to control our emotions, just play football, and that's it.